He comes in the Syracuse game last year, has to save the day, and he does. And then, of course, DJ, after 2 drives in the ACC championship game, they make the move to Cade, so he takes over. Now his first start ends up being against Tennessee in the Orange Bowl, and his second start is a standalone game on Labor Day night on national TV. I mean, that's being thrown into the fire as a freshman and now sophomore quarterback. He needed a normal, regular game to get that kind of under his belt.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. He has been kind of thrown into difficult situations, and by and large, I think he's responded very well. Especially that North Carolina game. I was just, DJ, he couldn't. It looked like he was trying to roll the ball to the receiver, but Cade came in and played very well, and I think he's played pretty well by and large the whole time he's played. So hopefully he'll continue to progress. I know that him and Garrett Riley, it's going to take a little time for those two guys to kind of get their mojo going, and so I'm expecting big things from those guys. Hopefully this week we'll play well, because we got the big one next week.
Yeah, no doubt. Florida State coming in for what's already been named as a noon kickoff in the Valley. But for Clemson fans that might be frustrated with the offense a little bit, I listen, minus a few turnovers, Cade was good on Saturday, 27-38 with 4 touchdowns. But, look at what happened in the NFL this past weekend. We saw one team get shut out in the New York Giants. We see another team that just signed their quarterback to the richest contract in NFL history. They put up a measly field goal to Cincinnati. And then finally, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Tomlin's one of the longest tenured coaches in the NFL. They got a whole touchdown.
Right.
These guys have had 6 weeks of training camp since July. They've had practices against other teams, and they had 3 preseason games. So, yes, an offense is always going to be a little bit of a work in progress.
Yeah, it's been impressive. All the the defensive guys have come in on some of these teams, and really they can really put together a game plan. And sometimes maybe I've always heard that your team makes the most improvement in the second week. So hopefully that will take place in the pro game, and I think you can see that with Clemson. We got a lot better now. The talent level we played against Charleston Southern is nowhere near what Duke was, but I think this gives you an opportunity to kind of get stuff oiled up a little bit and get the ball moving.
Hey, sometimes being stressed a little bit's not the worst thing. I mean, when Charleston Southern does the onside kick and recovers it, I mean, you came away dealing with several things, and they were just as restless down in Columbia Saturday night. I was down there covering Furman at South Carolina. And when Furman went up 14-7 there in the beginning of the second quarter, you started hearing some booing. You started hearing some rustling. This shouldn't happen. Actually, the first boo bird came out. And again, that's today's the world we live in. There's no patience. But the first boo bird came out before the first offensive play because South Carolina had a false start on the first play. They're like, we didn't get any better since last week. But so my point being is Clemson 1-1, South Carolina 1-1, and I think this is going to be a crazy football season because Texas, they go into Alabama, beat Alabama by double digits. That's the worst home loss for Alabama since 2003.
Wow.
I haven't seen anything out of Ohio State that makes me real scared right now. Michigan's, who knows, Harbaugh's out. But Georgia, they're being given the top ranking, and I guess they should be till somebody beats them. But tell me what you know about Georgia at this point. So I just hold your own, keep doing what you do, and this may be one of those wild seasons that we haven't seen in a while.
Well, it magnifies how important a quarterback is. The teams that'll really start out well, you see Rattler down at South Carolina. I mean, he's really been playing about as good as any quarterback in the nation because the guy's played a long time. And all these other quarterbacks you've talked to, all these other teams you talked about, Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan. Well, not Michigan. Michigan had the same guy last year, but those guys are breaking in new quarterbacks. Now Alabama's breaking in another new quarterback, the transfer from Notre Dame this week. So who knows? It's just going to take a little while. You had the kid last year, the number one pick, went to Carolina.
Bryce Young.
I mean, that guy could just about do anything he wanted to do. And the kid at Ohio State, same thing. So, and we saw it here. Gosh, we got so spoiled with Deshaun Watson and Trevor Lawrence, and those two guys are going to be making. Deshaun's already making $1 gazillion, and Trevor's going to be doing the same thing.
Those are generational talents, you know what I mean? But the unfortunate thing is that did put expectations on DJ. That now puts expectations on Cade Klubnik. And guess what? The next quarterback at Clemson will face those expectations. But, Joe.
But all those great ones, they want expectations.
Yes.
The guys that shy away from all the expectations and the competition and all that. That's the guys you don't need. But it takes a rare breed to be able to come into a situation, follow a Peyton Manning or Eli Manning or Tom Brady or whoever, and just say, hey, give me that friggin' ball, and I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna make it happen just like Tom Brady or the Peyton guys, Peyton or Eli did. So
well, you go back and you think Ken Hatfield, and then Tommy West, and then those guys. So many years, the most popular quarterback on campus was the backup.
So about anywhere you go, it's the second team quarterback. That's the guy.
Yeah. All right. So, did you learn anything out of Charleston Southern in a 66-19 win? I mean, it was a game you were supposed to win. It was a game you were supposed to get healthy with. But as a former Tiger and a former NFL football player, did you learn anything about this squad?
I was more impressed with the wide receivers myself. I thought Bo Collins, he could do without the hot dog and run, holding the ball up or kind of loafing in the last 10 yards. I mean, I don't understand that deal. I don't understand why you don't run hard to the goal line and why some guys let go of the ball before they get to the goal line. I mean, that ball is not really that heavy. I can't imagine a guy's getting fatigued as he's running with that ball in his hands and got to let go of that the 1 yard line.
Shoot, they're thinking about what they're going to do when they get in the end zone and not finishing off the play.
I tell you what, they'll be thinking about what they're going to be doing probably Sunday afternoon at practice when the coach has got him out there running when he gets to the end zone and he's minus the ball because he's dropped it on the 1 yard line. So stuff like that would absolutely drive me bonkers. I mean, it just.
Well, the one thing in the game this past Saturday that I liked was the defense.
Oh, yeah,
I mean, they rose to occasion over and over again. They really only gave up a field goal. 73 yards of total offense by Charleston Southern. Again, that's an FCS team, but you could see a little bit of swagger back, if you will. And listen, Peter Woods, let me tell you, that is a man that's going to get a lot of tackles here, but he had a situation where he lit a Charleston Southern player up in the backfield.
There's two guys on that defensive line. The young kids are 11 and 12, both the defensive end and, like I said, Woods. And those guys, they came out of the factory ready to go. They're obviously and hopefully they're going to get a lot better as they go on, as they develop, lift weights, eat the right kind of foods, train, and do all the stuff. But those guys, they came out of high school and they can play college football.
Again, getting you ready for a 8 o'clock kickoff against Florida Atlantic. And, Clemson has a 1-0 advantage over the Owls, but it was a 55-6 win. But more famously, for people that don't remember, that was when they did the recording and shooting for the movie Safety here at Clemson about Ray McElrathbey.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just a football game and a beating of Howard Schnellenberger, in my opinion, one of the better college football coaches that ever existed.
Howard Schnellenberger was a phenomenal football coach. What he did at Miami, he was the guy that really put the wheels on Miami. I mean, Miami was a perennial loser back before he got there. I mean, he turned it around, won a national championship, and I guess signed some USFL.
Well, he was
contract.
going to be a owner of the Spirit of Miami in the USFL. That fell through. I think he left and went and coached the Washington Federals. But he says, I should have never done that. But no, it was so bad at Miami before Snellenberger got there. Watch the 30 for 30. You could go buy a a Whopper at Burger King, and they give you 2 free tickets to a Miami football game. Not kidding you. It's literally in that 30 for 30.
It was bad. I mean, my first year in the league, 79, we drafted Otis Anderson, the great running back. I'm sure he'll be a Hall of Fame running back before it's all said and done. And he was from Miami, and I think they were just starting to scratch the surface and getting a little bit better down there, but he was a heck of a football player.
Well, we're here at Lakeside Lodge in Clemson. You can find out everything about this fantastic venue at lakesidelodgeclemson.com. Listen, we're going to have the Eric Weiler group kicking off here about 8:15 to next week. Got the Dave Landio band coming up from Charleston, one of our favorites. But, you got traditions on the lake here. You got the pool bar. You got so much thing that you can do here the night before a football game.
I tell you what, and the weather, God, I'm telling you, I don't even want to leave. They get late and one of those guys better to get us a room or something. It is such a beautiful place here. The sun's just setting over here. They got the yard over here where they play football and throw the ball around. They got the pool. I mean, this is just a beautiful place.
And you know what else you can come here and do? You can come here and get one-of-a-kind shirts to wear to Death Valley tomorrow night or for the Florida State game.
Oh, you got us. That's a sharp shirt.
How about
there.
that? That's a Lakeside Lodge shirt. It's done by our friends at Folly Row. They also have an orange one as well. So, I mean, that's a really unique.
Good.
And I love the
good fabric too.
Absolutely. So again, you can come get them here at Lakeside Lodge, or you can check out follyrow.com. But when we come back, we're going to take a look at ACC action this past weekend, some notes from the top 25, and then in our final segment, we'll get really into Clemson and Florida Atlantic. This is Straight Up with Sturg and the Bostic brothers. We're live at Lakeside Lodge like we are every single night before a Clemson football game, and we'll be right back.
It's more than football.
Let's all come together to be a bridge builder through this great game to change the lives of the people in the state of South Carolina.
Together, we can be a voice to help educate, encourage, and empower excellence in our youth and community.
Join the movement and help support all that the South Carolina Football Hall of Fame is doing to embrace this mission of celebrating, recognizing, and encouraging excellence.
I'm here at one of my favorite places in Greenville. That's Tip It Back Sports Grill, 215 Pelham Road, here in the Commons at Pelham. And listen, there's a lot going on at Tip It Back here during the week. First of all, there's happy hour, Monday through Friday, 3 to 7 p.m. There's great food. They're open at noon for lunch. But Mondays, you can enjoy live trivia at 7 p.m., then Monday Night Football. On Thursdays, it's football and then karaoke. On Friday night, some of the best live entertainment in the upstate. And then Saturday, it's football all day and finishes off with karaoke. And then Sunday, it's NFL football. And if you're a Steelers fan, this is your spot. It's the home for the Steelers. They're on the broadcast here in the bar all day long. That's Tip It Back Sports Grill. Check them out. It'll be your home for college football. Just like the Bostics are legends, so is Wedgie's Pizza here in Greenville. When you've been in business for 34 years, you can make that claim. You know, pizza and football go together, and it's not just about the pies here at Wedgie's. There's fantastic cheesesteaks and other subs, plus a lasagna, chicken tenders, and a whole lot more. Now, you can find the entire menu at wedgiesonline.com or simply give the store a call, 292-3410.
Sorry.
That's legendary. That's Wedgie's Pizza here in Greenville. Welcome back into Lakeside Lodge. Mark Sturgis, Joe Bostic. Also, don't forget about the website. Our good buddy over here, Cliff Weatherspoon, is the webmaster. That's straightupsports.net. Bob Gillespie, a great article this week on the soon-to-be retired South Carolina head coach or South Carolina State head coach Buddy Pugh, who's just a class act. Willie Smith got a article in on the Georgia-South Carolina game tomorrow, and of course, me on Furman. I'll be leaving here about 9:30 to head down I-85 to go crash in a hotel room to see the Owls play. Oh, yeah, Florida Atlantic Owls and the Kennesaw State Owls playing Clemson and Furman this weekend.
Wow.
How you like that?
Watch out for the Owls.
Watch out for the Owls. I think my title was, Gamecocks and birds of a different feather.
And, you're speaking about Cliff. I mean, anytime you need something recorded or filmed, and I don't know much about all this stuff, but that man and his outfit, they sure make it a heck of a lot easier to get this stuff done. And all I have to do is come here and sit in a chair and talk a little bit, and they do the deal, and I appreciate it.
Yep, Red Arrow Entertainment. So, again, hit them up. But last night we got started in the ACC. Miami improves to 3-0, 48-7 win over FCS, Florida in-state opponent Bethune-Cookman. Nothing learned there.
No, just Miami's. Miami took on A&M, and they got the same kind of game we'll have tomorrow. Right. And and when you play those games, you just you get the big lead and you just keep pushing and keep going. They can kind of put you to sleep a little bit, but you just keep playing hard. But I've been impressed with Miami so far. Cristobal is really, is starting to turn the corner there.
And they even had some more fans than normal for that Texas A&M game there at Hard Rock Stadium last week.
Probably wearing burgundy. So.
Tonight, right now, going on, Virginia 0-2 at Maryland 2-0. Boy, that has an old school ACC feel to it, but. You sat there. I was so happy for the kid for Virginia that was shot and came back. He scored 2 touchdowns last week at home against James Madison. The bad thing was Tony Elliott's Cavaliers gave up about 16 points in the late fourth quarter, and they lose by 1 at home. Yeah, he's having a hard time getting things changed.
Yeah, Tony, he's in a tough situation, and that those murders really put him behind the 8 ball, and what it did, they didn't play any, so a lot of guys transferred out. You can just tell that's just not a very well-equipped team, and I don't know what Tony can do. Hopefully he's not a sacrificial lamb, but it doesn't look good down there.
Well, the main thing is Virginia Tech is not as powerful, so that maybe gives him a little bit of a grace period there in the Commonwealth state. Tomorrow, starting at noon, Florida State makes a road trip up to Boston College. They struggled this past weekend, and I would love to see BC stress Florida State ahead of coming into Clemson next weekend, but I just don't think there's enough talent there to do it.
Well, they got the bandana game, so hopefully that might, get them a big crowd in there. And, it's like we played Duke, you start doing crazy things start happening on the, when you're driving the ball in for a touchdown, you get fumbles or whatever. And that could happen in Boston. Who knows?
Also at noon tomorrow, quietly, Louisville 2-0. They're at Indiana. And listen, Jeff Brom has come in and I guess put some stability in that program. Satterfield, I think, never really wanted to be there because, he turned around and interviewed for the South Carolina job after his first year, and then he leaves Louisville to go to Cincinnati.
Right.
I don't really think that's an upward trajectory there. He just wanted out of Louisville that bad. Right. But, again, Louisville
it looked like the writing was on the wall for him at Louisville. I mean, I think he had decent years there, but I think the fan base were he just wasn't a good fit.
Yeah, he wasn't a Louisville guy, and they really wanted Jeff Brom, but he didn't want to leave Purdue at that point. And also at 2 o'clock tomorrow, at noon tomorrow, Wake Forest 2-0 on the year at Old Dominion. Remember, Virginia Tech went to Old Dominion last year and lost.
Yeah. Dave Clawson, to me, is the most steady coach, and maybe in America. He every year his team is ready to play. Now, not the most talented guys in the world. They always lose a few. They had a running back named Walker one year, and then last year Sam Hartman. So they lose some guys. But boy, he really coaches them up, and those teams, they play hard.
You mentioned when you were being recruited, I think in 1974 or 75?
The 74 season.
All right, so you were at a North Carolina football game, and they announced that basketball practice starting, and you saw people get up and leave and went, I'm not playing anywhere where football's going to be second fiddle to basketball. But did you ever, being from Greensboro, take a look at NC State back in the day?
Yeah.
Okay. What are they going to do with Dave Dorn? I mean, I consider NC State a football school during football season, a basketball school during basketball season. They really don't have an identity. But, they got smoked by Notre Dame this past weekend at home. And minus maybe one win over Clemson, really tell me what Dave Dorn has done in a decade there in Raleigh. I mean, he's really starting to rack up the years there.
Yeah, he's a 6, 7, 8 win guy, and I'm sure he's a very good coach, but he's just kind of in that little, we go to bowl games and and you do that, you stick around 10 or 15 years, you make a lot of money.
Yeah, but
you never have those breakout years. You never have those. Man, we're right on the cusp of getting in the playoff, or winning an ACC championship. I want to say the last time we won an ACC championship, 1979.
Yes, under Bo Ryan.
Yeah.
Who watched the 30 for 30 on him, the Bo you didn't know.
Yep.
Absolutely. My dad was, hands down, that guy would have gone on to be one of the all-time best coaches.
Yeah, he recruited me in high school. He was a very nice man. Chuck the Chest.
Chucky Amato.
Yeah, Chuck Amato. He was
what
there.
What are you talking about? Yeah. I'm going to get you in the locker room and really get you intimidated.
He had that gruffy voice or whatever it was. I don't know.
3:30 tomorrow. Row the boat heads into North Carolina. Minnesota 2-0 at North Carolina 2-0.
That's going to be an interesting game.
I agree because, North Carolina. Mac Brown comes out the other day. Mac Brown's got he doesn't have a large fan base at the NCAA office this week over the over the football player that did. Matter of fact, they said some of those NCAA members got death threats after Mac Brown let it be known that he was extremely disgusted with them. But maybe even worse, he looked at after winning in double overtime last week against App State and goes, I don't want to play those guys anymore. All I could think about was the end of the movie Rocky when he goes, ain't going to be no rematch. Don't want none.
Yeah. Yeah, those I don't know about Mac Brown. I mean, I'm all in favor of those guys being able to transfer, but this stuff just transferring every year. I mean, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, I'm with you there. In the SAT Bowl in Durham, Northwestern 1-1 at number 21 Duke 2-0. I mentioned I'm going to go ahead. I said it on our podcast, Straight Up from Smoke with Sturg and Price on Thursday, and I'll make the comment again here. You're looking at Mike Elko, the next head coach for the Texas A&M Aggies. Texas A&M is going to finally make the move on Jimbo Fisher. Speaking of mediocre coaches, boy, he rode Jameis Winston to a national title and a lot of money, but they're frustrated. Mike Elko left Texas A&M as defensive coordinator. If you can turn Duke around like this, trust me, they're going to come after him.
I'm telling you what, Mike Elko is a football coach.
Yep.
He was at Wake Forest, and he got that defense rolling. Then he went to Notre Dame and got made big strides with that defense. Went to Texas A&M, turned them around. I think they were like second or third or fourth defense in the country, and now it's got hooked up at Duke. I mean, he is a really, really good, and he's not a razzle dazzle coach. He's just a tough. He could have coached in the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, 2000s. he could fit in any of those eras. I mean, he's just a solid nuts and type of football coach that just believes in getting it done. He's a tough-minded coach.
Well, I mean, you're looking at a Jimbo Fisher now that's starting to make excuses, blame players, this and that. That, to me, is a telltale sign of things are coming to an end.
That's the kiss of death.
Yep. Also at 3:30, Virginia Tech 1-1. They lose at Purdue. Purdue at home last week. They go to Rutgers. Greg Schiano 2-0.
Greg Schiano, that's another guy that can coach. And I've been disappointed with Virginia Tech. You just don't see a lot of continuity or something. They just seem disjointed to me watching them.
Well, one game at 7:30 tomorrow night. We mentioned Purdue winning at Virginia Tech. Well, Syracuse heads to Purdue for back-to-back ACC games for the Boilermakers. Again, I caught a little bit of Syracuse. Granted, the competition hasn't been that good, but man, Dino Babers looks like he's got a little bit more this year than he's had in years past.
Yeah, he's got that Garrett Schrader. He's a heck of a quarterback, big kid too. And I don't know what it is about Dino Babers. He can really get a team coming out of the box. And real often be 5, 6, 7 wins. Sometimes they tail off at the end, but boy, he can get it started. Really.
And listen, he plays Clemson as tough as anybody in the league. Also at 7:30 tomorrow night, Georgia Tech 1-1 at number 17 Ole Miss. And then finally, one of the more unheralded rivalries called the Backyard Brawl gets taking place tomorrow night.
West Virginia.
Pitt, those schools are, 80 miles from each other?
And they don't like each other.
They don't like each other at all.
And they will throw stuff at each other.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if you get out of West Virginia without getting at least one battery thrown at you or maybe an empty mini bottle, you consider that a good day. So, only one game this week between the ACC and the Southeastern Conference. Listen, I went to the SEC school. I will go ahead and tell you right now, Joe, this is the weakest Southeastern Conference I've seen in some time. The ACC right now 4-1 against Southeastern Conference. The Southeastern Conference 3-6 against Power 5 football teams. Now, I expect Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss to beat Georgia Tech tomorrow, but Bama takes a 10-point loss. LSU's been beat by 21 points. LSU, think about what they have tomorrow at Mississippi State. Will Rogers III has been playing lights out for the Bulldogs. Can you imagine if Brian Kelly's team's sitting there at 1-2 this time tomorrow night?
Yeah, and those two of those teams are kind of the flag bearers with LSU and Alabama. It's not like Vanderbilt or whoever's playing an ACC team. LSU and Alabama are the big boys in the SEC. So those wins are very formidable for the ACC and gives them a little bit of bragging rights.
The biggest story in college football right now, Coach Prime in Colorado. First of all, Matt Rule did not really endear himself to Nebraska fans this past week when he said, hey, man, this is going to be a 3 or 4 year rebuild. And you're looking across the field at a guy that brought in 65 new players in year number 1. But all eyes are on Boulder again this weekend. Game day's there. The Fox Noon show's there. They're hosting Colorado State. And listen, right now, Colorado's got my Heisman Trophy choice, Travis Hunter. The only guy I can remember playing two ways is Gordy Lockbaum from Holy Cross back in the day. 117 snaps for Travis Hunter last week on defense. We haven't seen an Iron Man like this in my generation. You know what I mean?
That'll get you leg cramps at night. 117 plays, I'll tell you.
So, again, just what he's doing. Of course, Shador Sanders is playing very well.
And they may split some votes for the Heisman. The thing that I cannot understand is every single coach that plays Colorado has to get into something of criticizing Dion or criticizing the NIL or criticizing the transfer portal or something. And they get those guys so fired up. There's got to be a coach somewhere. Just keep your mouth shut. Hey, we're going to come in. I know they got a great team, but we're going to do the best we can, and we'll see what happens. And I think it would go a lot better for you.
Coach Prime, Coach Deion Sanders, he uses that stuff as motivation.
Oh, and he can
files it away.
He can get on your nerves. I mean, I played against him in the NFL, and he's out there dancing around and talking junk and all that. You find yourself at times wanting to start hollering at him, and we'd be in the huddle saying, "Just shut up. Just worry about your job. Don't worry about him." But some of these coaches, I just cannot imagine why they've allowed themselves to get drawn into this little pissing match and I'm telling you what, he is a 5-star general at it.
Yes.
And he knows exactly what he's doing.
And that's what everybody wants to see, who he's going to call out in the post-game press conference. But, when I look at things as a whole, he has brought something here, whether you like him or not, that is very captivating here in the first 2 weeks of the season. I do not think they're going 11-1. I don't think they're going 10-2. The schedule will eventually.
But that team was 1-11 last year, and he's come in there, brought energy, brought pizzazz, brought some swag, and he's brought in all these new players. He fired a bunch of players, so because I think this whole NIL and transfer portal and all this stuff, I think there's going to be a 5-6 year competition to finally, figure out who's got it right.
Right.
What's going to be the proper way to go. I mean, I don't think Dabo's way of not messing with the transfer portal is the right way either. But somehow or another, I think in the next 4 or 5 years, it's going to get figured out that, this guy really took it most advantage of the transfer portal, and this is the best way to go.
All right. Again, very interesting there. And listen, you got to give Steve Sarkisian and Quinn Ewers some credit. They walk into the Bryant-Denny Stadium last week and just simply handle Alabama. Something I haven't seen in a while now. You're having a quarterback change for Alabama as they play at South Florida in Tampa. Somebody's asking, why are y'all playing at South Florida? Because Nick Saban recruits the daylights out of the Tampa area,
right.
And this is one of those opportunities to bring all those kids to a football game.
Let them see him and all that. And,
Well,
if you're trying to question Nick Saban for anything he's doing, I guarantee you there is a highly, highly educational decision that's been made that's going to be 100% his benefit.
Well, the game I want to look at tomorrow, because, Deion, for whatever reason, he doesn't think very highly of Florida State where he played. That's not his alma mater. He's like, my alma mater is Talladega College and HBCU. Why? Because he had to go get his degree to be able to coach. The ultimate middle finger would be for Florida to go hire Deion Sanders. And listen, that is a big game Florida has hosting number 11 ranked Tennessee tomorrow, because Florida looked absolutely terrible in that opener against Utah. I'm talking jumping off sides, motion penalties, not getting lined up correctly. Listen, that fan base is going to get frustrated with Billy Napier, who I think if they give enough time to him, he will be fine at Florida. But we are in this society that we are the most impatient people on the face of this earth.
Yeah, the only people that get time to do that is whoever the coach is with the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers are going to allow you to coach for 7-8 years. I don't care if you win in 2 games a year, but especially college football, you got a 2 or 3 year little window, and I just think it takes longer than that to make it happen.
All right, before we get out, want to thank Chris Lowe and our friends at GarageBaggerStereo.com. You know what that is?
I have no idea.
You own a boat.
Yes, I do.
Do you have a stereo in the boat, or lights, or that kind of stuff? Well, Garage Bagger Stereo has all those items for boats and motorcycles.
Wow.
Stereo systems, lights, you name it, they've got it all. And Chris Lowe does it at the best price around. So go check out GarageBaggerStereo.com.
I bet you they got some boats that look like Deion Sanders coming. They're all flashing and they're probably doing that little shuffle he does and all that stuff.
So again, thanks to Chris Lowe and those guys. And, again, we're live here at Lakeside Lodge. The Eric Weiler Group's going to take over in about a half an hour. Next weekend is my favorite band that we bring in. I know that's hard to say. It's like, you aren't supposed to favor one child over another, but the Dave Landio band from Charleston, he gets everybody in the crowd involved with tambourines and all. So again, that will be a big night here a week from tonight at Lakeside Lodge. When we come back, let's turn the page. We've got Florida Atlantic at Clemson, different notes about the Tigers, who to look out for Florida Atlantic, and we'll be right back here on the other side. Hey guys, it's football season. It's officially kicked off, and we want to take a moment and invite you to check out our new website. It's straightupsports.net. What do we have on the homepage? I've taken time to put some links to the week's best articles. Also, we've got a Clemson page, a Furman page, and I have a links page. I've got every college sports program in the upstate linked on one page. Plus, you can find our 2 shows. That's Straight Up with Sturg and the Bostic brothers down in Clemson the night before every Clemson football game, and Straight Up from Smoke. Price Atkinson and I are getting back together every week at Smoke on the Water. Check it out, straightupsports.net.
My name is Shania Gullidge, and I work here at Traditions on the Lake. One of the things that I definitely think makes this place so special is the warm and welcoming environment. There is nothing on the menu that I do not like, and I'm typically a super picky eater, but there is literally not one thing that I wouldn't recommend. I think Traditions is definitely a perfect spot for a family. It is the perfect environment to bring your kids, very warm and inviting. It's just a very beautiful environment all around.
Kirk Fisher is a motorcycle attorney with first responder experience. He protects fellow riders and those in danger, fighting fires and fighting for your rights. Experienced, determined, and dedicated. Iron Horse Motorcycle Lawyers. Look for motorcycles, or Kirk Fisher will be looking for you.
All right, welcome back in. Our final segment live here at Lakeside Lodge in Clemson. That website, lakesidelodgeclemson.com. Don't forget, a condo hotel. You won't regret staying here. It's completely different than any other type of hotel that you've been in. And again, we want to thank Leighton Cubbage and Shane Bounds and David Slevin for their support. All right, what time are you getting into your seat tomorrow night for an 8 o'clock kickoff?
If I go over to the Block C Club over in Little John, I mean, if there's a bunch of guys, I might get there 7:59, or I may get there at 7:30. I don't know, but looking forward to, it's another one of these, I wouldn't say warm-up games, but it's really, it's the kind of game you should be able to do a lot of things and develop a lot of guys and get and really kind of hone in, because the real bullets are going to start flying next week. So you want to get in your offense, your defense, and really try some things, different things, and really figure out what's working and what, and what really fits the personality of the guys that you're dependent on to make big plays.
FAU comes in with former Golden Boy head coach Tom Herman, who was the head coach at Texas and I believe Houston.
Yep.
And now at FAU.
Was an assistant coach under Urban Meyer at Ohio State, and that's where I think he was the offensive coordinator that really hit it big when they were winning that national championship. And then he got to Houston, Texas, and that didn't work out too
Well,
well.
when you look at the numbers, it's obviously going to be a rebuild. And you're talking about a fan base that, with Florida Atlantic, remember, they just went on one of the most incredible runs in college basketball all the way to the Final Four. So there are good feelings on that campus down there. But, again, I want to see the offense tomorrow night. Again, go out there and have fun. I get it. Dabo always says the fun's in the winning. But go out there and have fun, because it looked like they did in the second half on this past Saturday. But I want to see a clean game from the offense.
Yeah.
I'm talking no turnovers, no dumb turnovers. Like you mentioned, he throws that ball trying to throw it away in the flat.
That's been the problem. There are fumbles and there are interceptions that man, you cannot, I don't care who you are, you cannot fumble the ball on the 1 yard line going in. You can't do that.
Or, when it comes to throwing it away, sometimes take the sack and live to play another day, because and that will happen in time as you get more confident in your abilities.
He'll figure that out. But, you got to throw it past the line of scrimmage and throw the friggin' thing up there, and the guy in the 14th row, let him catch it.
Yeah. Well, see, I'm old style, kind of like you. I enjoy a good running game and a matchup, and I want to see what Clemson will do defensively out of what should be a little bit better matchup than Charleston Southern. But I went back and looked. The Tiger defense this past week only gave up a field goal. They recorded 10 tackles for loss. They forced 8 3-and-outs. They had 2 sacks, 1 interception, and gave up just 73 yards total. I want to see a because as the season goes on, next Saturday against Florida State, you know what? You better. One thing that gives you a better chance to win is if the defense is playing well.
Oh yeah, defense will keep you in the game, and and those guys need to develop that mentality that I just don't want to beat you up. I just want to smother you and just absolutely just knock you completely out, and just put the clamps on them and that's what Clemson, they got to get. The only criticism I have, they just don't seem to have that killer instinct.
Yeah, the edge. It's play till the echo of the whistle or this, but
we want to be. You get guys sometimes. I remember that team. I think it was 14. The defensive end that went to Atlanta. I can't think of his name now, but
Vic Beasley.
Vic Beasley. And that defense, those guys are like, we want to be the number one team. We want to be the number one defense in the country. And, I mean, those guys were just nasty.
So let me ask you, before we go any further, is it just a different generation with players? We were talking Corey Miller, who played at the University of South Carolina. His son was a linebacker for Alabama on a couple of national championship teams, also lost to Clemson in a national championship game. He was down in Tuscaloosa Saturday night for the Texas game. Coming back, he said, the one thing I see in these locker rooms right now is these kids don't hate to lose like we do, because some of them have a very soft landing spot with $1 million in NIL money in the bank account.
Yes. We used to have a saying in the NFL, I think I've said it over the last few years, but when you sign a contract or, you really, really, really bring in a lot of money, it will multiply what's already there. If you're a bad guy or you're a show-off guy or you're a mouthy guy, that's going to escalate. If you're a good guy, if you're a nose to the grindstone sort of guy, that's going to escalate. So I think the money really gets these guys thinking about a lot of different things. You're not so tunnel vision.
Mm-hmm.
You're thinking about, well, I got all this money coming in. I got a girlfriend. What are we going to eat tonight?
Well, it used to be you busted your butt to get to a bowl game so you could get a little bit of travel money and free gifts and things of that nature. Now it's just, it runs rampant across NCAA football.
You're eating
right.
a sandwich out of your little I don't know what like a
Tupperware.
Give you a little box. A little box lunch with a sandwich and some French fries and all that. And these guys now, they're like, shoot, I'm making $1 million. I mean, we'll go eat at Ruth's Chris.
However, I will say walking out of Clay Hendricks' press conference Saturday night down in Columbia, Those Furman kids were all over those boxes of Chick-fil-A before they went and got on the bus to come back to Greenville. I was sitting over there going, man, if I could just get my hands on one of those right now.
Oh, I'll tell you what, there's no greater eaters than football players.
That's it.
I'll tell you that.
All right, so when you look at Florida Atlantic tomorrow, here's what they bring in on offense. They have Casey Thompson, who is a senior quarterback, not that big, 6'1", 200 pounds. As of right now, he has completed 43 of 67 passes, 460 yards in 2 games, 5 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. So they've had a little bit of an issue holding on to the ball as well. Probably their best player, which is a senior running back by the name of Larry McCammon III. 20 rushes for 148 yards, 1 touchdown. They also have a sophomore running back who's had 16 rushes. And then I love this name, wide receiver LeJonte Wessler, 18 receptions, 1 touchdown. And again, he's a junior. So you're talking about an offense that's obviously starting over again. They had, 354 yards against Ohio in a 17-10 loss. So that's, to me, is a game that Clemson comes down and they have their eyes open and they're not going through the motions. The defense should just clamp them down, and that should give the offense plenty of opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. And hopefully I think we're all more worried about the offense because of some of those inexplicable turnovers. And we've had, I don't know how many turnovers we've had. We probably had 5 or 6 probably in 2 games. So I don't know how much we're minus. We're probably 3 or 4 in the minus category for the whole entire team. So we got to get that shored up. And, a team that doesn't turn the ball over, man, and you got a good defense, you can stay in games with almost anybody.
Well, last week against one of the biggest party schools in the country, University of Ohio, not the Ohio State University, the Marching 300, one of the best bands you'll ever see. FAU had a whopping 154 yards of total offense. I would suspect that Ohio University does not have the same caliber of players that Clemson will put on the field tomorrow night.
I wouldn't think so. That guy, and I think, you were talking about that game. I was being recruited at North Carolina, and I do believe they were playing Ohio University that day. So kind of sealed my deal that I did not want to go to North Carolina and be having to polish Michael Jordan's shoes or James Worthy's shoes or Sam Perkins.
Mitch Kupchak, probably.
Yeah, probably Mitch Kupchak. And so.
But, again, defensively, they have one really good player. He's a junior defensive lineman. He led the team in tackles in 2021, but he dealt with a foot injury last season. Again, Evan Anderson. But, here's the deal. It's a game that Clemson is the better team. You get one more opportunity to tighten things up before, quite frankly, in my opinion, you have the biggest challenge coming into Death Valley since Florida State came in with Jameis Winston back in the day.
I agree 100%. And I really think this team can really be a good team, but this is not going to be an easy team. This is not going to be a team that just man, we had three touchdown plays of over 80 yards. It's just not going. It's going to be more of a grinded out sort of team, and but there's nothing wrong with that. But you cannot turn the ball over if you're not playing a real explosive ball. You've got to not turn the ball over.
Right, and I think take a good look tomorrow. The offense that you will see come week number 10 or week number 11, I don't think it will look the same as you see tomorrow.
Oh, I agree 100%. Yeah, Garrett Riley, he's feeling these guys out. These guys are feeling him out. And as a matter of fact, I've been a little bit surprised that the offense hasn't come on as quickly as I thought it may. But, it's he's a good coach. I mean, everywhere he's gone, SMU, he was moving the ball like crazy there. Last year at TCU, the national final game. He obviously knows what he's doing.
And again, he's working with inherited parts right now. This will be his first opportunity to go out this offseason and recruit some pieces that he thinks will work for his offense. as long as he's going to be here in Tiger Town. Who knows how long that will be. The other question I have for you, what have you thought about the offensive line play? Because you rolled up the shirt back in the day, got dirty out there, and I still think that Clemson was in some bad positions on Labor Day night at Duke. Offensive line didn't help, but I don't think that's a huge worry as the season goes on.
No, I don't think so either. The kid Miller, I think the right tackle, the sophomore, I think he's been struggling a bit, but I think by and large the rest of the offensive line's doing well. They've averaged very well per rush. They've gotten over 200 yards rushing in 2 games, which I think is impressive. Over 200 yards passing in both games. So obviously the offensive line is doing more good than they're doing bad, and I've been surprised that the left tackle. We had the kid at the Chargers now, Jordan McFadden, over here for so long, or either Mitch Hyatt. We've had these guys, or Carmen, Jackson Carmen. So we've been very blessed. So hopefully this guy here will be the next of a long line of really good left tackles.
It's real easy for me, being a member of the media, to sit back and go, yeah, that's a nice pass, or, man, what a call there. But watching offensive line play, number one, that's something you really got to back up and take a look at. And quite frankly, I just feel I'm not qualified to make a decision there. Now, when they're not playing well, it's glaring.
Yes, it
is.
But,
like Spencer Rattler running for his life against North Carolina in the opener, where he had 9 sacks.
Yeah, I was surprised. I was listening to the radio today, and a bunch. There's a group that goes out and grades every player that plays on a team, and Alabama's offensive line were averaging about 55 to 60% success rate in that game, and then they went back and said, okay, now let's take away the running plays and let's just grade out the pass plays. The Alabama center, his success rate was 18%. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, I guarantee you it has been a long, long, long time since Alabama's had an offensive line grade that low. It's probably before Bear Bryant was even coaching.
I got the feeling it's been a long, long week in Tuscaloosa for this team. Again, they'll play. Alabama goes down to South Florida tomorrow. So here's what Sturg wants to see out of the game tomorrow. I've got 3 things. Number 1, I would like to see a quick start. All right, go ahead and get up 14, 21-0 by the end of the first quarter, and then get players in there, get them experience. But, yes, I would definitely like to see a quick start. Number 2, no turnovers by the offense. And number 3, I would just like to see a more crisp display of the football team with that FSU game looming at noon next weekend.
Yeah, I think that those are 3 really good goals, especially the turnovers. There's no way we can play against Florida State if we lose the turnover battle 2-0 or 3-0 or whatever. We're going to have to get some turnovers, and we're going to have to minimize our turnovers, because for some reason this year the turnovers, they're not like you're at midfield and you fumble and they get the ball on the 50-yard line. The ball's coming back, or it's scoring a touchdown, or it's almost is scoring a touchdown, or it takes us out of a scoring play. We're sitting on the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-yard line. We've just had some devastating turnovers. Really, really bad. All
right. If any Florida State fans find us here this week and leading into next week, they're complaining. They used to get 1,300 tickets down low in Death Valley. They're only getting 500 this year, which that has taken the Florida State fans to an irate level. Clemson's scared. They don't want us, this, that, and the other. Listen, guys, remember, it was just 3 years ago. Clemson is in Tallahassee ready to play a football game, and you guys ducked out 3 hours before kickoff. So I don't want to hear any Florida State fan out there talking about this, that, and the other. Clemson's afraid. The ultimate screw-over was that game in Tallahassee when they were ready to go get on the buses and Florida State wouldn't play. So, again, I just would like to throw that out there.
Well, what is selling tickets to the opposing team
Well,
a sign of your desperation or your fear.
Well, everybody's moving the opposing fans into the upper deck because you get more money. But
let's just say if we got let's say we give them 5,000 tickets. We got an 80,000 seat
Right.
stadium. So, oh my God, these 5,000 people, they're like the
Raider fans.
yeah. Well, I mean, some kind of those little toys you have that you twist them around, they turn into these big monsters and everything. Yeah, Transformers.
There you
Yeah.
go.
So if you sell 5,000 tickets to them, I mean, oh my God, I'm scared to death.
My point being is when you cancel a football game 3 hours before kickoff, you don't have any place to be pointing fingers. Finally, Joe.
And I think we've won 6 or 7 in a row, and now I will give Florida State all the credit in the world. I mean, this Norvell guy has done a hell of a job for them. He's got it turned around. He's got the culture in a good situation. He's obviously got these guys to buy into the program. You got guys that are seniors, could be high draft picks. They came back for this year. So obviously there's some good stuff going on there. But, and I'm so happy that Florida State is winning. It seemed like for so long we were carrying the torch
Right.
with very little help from anybody else.
All right, final thing before we get out of here. This week's trivia question. Which Tiger holds the record for most rushing yards in a single game?
A single game. I think it was Raymond Priester.
God, he's good.
And I think it's 279 or 260.
I think it was 269.
269. I think it was against Duke,
Yes.
as a matter of fact. A non-Mike Elko
Right.
coach Duke team.
Yeah, exactly. All
I
right.
guarantee you Mike Elko.
Was not the coach
I mean,
there.
Superman couldn't get 269 yards against those guys.
Well, listen, Joe, we'll break down next week's Florida State game here at Lakeside Lodge, but we want to thank our friends David Slevin, Leighton Cubbage, Shane Bounds. Also, don't forget, go check out straightupsports.net, getting a little bit better with it every single day. And then finally, Cliff Weatherspoon. What a fantastic job he does with camera work and the webmaster and all that stuff. Find him at Red Arrow Entertainment. But in the meantime, Joe, as we get out of here,
Well, I want to wish that the fans have a good time tomorrow, that the players stay safe, and that every one of us will say, "Go Tigers!" and let's get a win. And I think our old buddy Dabo Sweeney is going to get a little closer to Frank Howard's record as winning as coach, and he'll break this record in the next month or two. Close.
unbelievable that he took over as an interim coach.
And he's done it in 15 years. I think Coach Howard did it in 30
Now,
or
Coach
so.
Howard would tell you, by God, guys, I had to play the SEC outside the ACC.
Yeah, we only had 10 games.
So, all right, Joe, you can follow me on Twitter at Sturgis Sports. Again, my co-host on the podcast at Price Atkinson. And guess what, guys? We'll see you next week from Lakeside Lodge.